Finally, the day has come. Resident Evil Requiem has just released to the world, and I've played it. I thought it'd be fun to share my initial thoughts and opinions on RE9 after about 4 hours of playtime. A lot has stuck out to me about this game, so I want to give you all my unfiltered, fully honest thoughts and impressions. You can feel free to join in on this discussion in the comments below, or maybe this video can assist you in deciding whether to purchase RE9 or not. I'll be mainly covering the game's gameplay, atmosphere, and some brief story tidbits, but this video will be mostly spoiler free, aside from some very early game stuff. If you're excited for RE9, like I am, make sure you subscribe to the channel, as I have a lot of videos planned for this game. Without any further delay, let's get into my first thoughts and opinions of Resident Evil Requiem. Resident Evil 9 is a very bold yet familiar step for the franchise. Not only is the franchise roots seen in the game's story, but also in many of the game's mechanics and game design. What stuck out to me right away was just how stunning the game's graphics were. I mean, I could easily mistake some of these areas for real life photos. Capcom is once again flexing the power of their RE engine. Our characters are incredibly detailed and realistic, in what feels like the next step up for the franchise fidelity wise going on from RE4 Remake. The game's art direction in these early hours is just so unique. I have never explored areas like this in a Resident Evil game prior, and the slow and gradual build up in this opening does wonders for player immersion. After we get our initial story set up, Grace Ashcroft sets off to the Renwood Hotel to investigate a strange body, and honestly, the game's opening section is pretty long, and this could hurt subsequent playthroughs. However, for a first go around, I have no issues. The tension built up in this opening area is classic Resident Evil, and in part, this tension is also helped by Grace Ashcroft and how scared and skittish she is. I find that when I'm playing a game, the character's personality directly affects my own feelings towards the game. And with Grace being scared of pretty much everything, I slowly started to feel the same, which is so strange since I'm a survival horror veteran. Grace as a whole I really like. Her actress Angela Saltanbano so far has shown a great range in performance, and in one scene she was able to provide a gut-wrenching and heartbreaking performance, and honestly I could feel myself start to tear up. Now, something that I don't want to spoil exactly, that I want to mention from this early section, is the game's first zombie encounter, because it's just so memorable and truly terrifying. Speaking of being scared, Capcom recommends you play through this game in first person for Grace and third person for Leon, although you can choose to play however you want. I stuck with what Capcom recommended, and yep, I can see why Capcom wanted players to play the game this way. Now, I also did get to briefly play as Leon S. Kennedy on 2 separate occasions, and his sections are just incredible. They do feel most similar in gameplay to RE4 Remake, however, they are a little more evolved from that, with a better melee system, being able to use enemy weapons, and environmental attacks. It's balls to the walls gory action, and I can't wait to play more. And the juxtaposition between Grace and Leon here is insane. Just after I got through Grace's tense opening section, in comes Leon to just slaughter some zombies. Now that being said, I don't feel like Leon is absolutely overpowered, as I did somehow manage to die in a pretty funny way. Now getting to the meat and potatoes of what I played, and that is Grace's section of the Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Center, and man oh man, this was good. This right here feels like Resident Evil at its best. Now that's a big statement that could change as I play the rest of the game, but for now, that's what I think. When first exploring the care center, players are pursued by the big mama enemy, with no defense besides a flimsy lighter and glass bottle. After that, we meet Leon and get his Requiem revolver, so Grace quickly jumps from being unarmed to being super armed. But there is a catch here. Leon has given Grace only 1 bullet, meaning in this opening area, you gotta choose what you shoot very carefully. I love how powerful yet helpless this makes you feel. A little while later, we finally get our starting handgun, or should I say handguns, since there is 2 of them. You can then expect to settle in to a more traditional RE gameplay loop. If I was to compare Grace's sections to prior games, I feel like it's a mashup of Resident Evil 7 and RE1 Remake, and you have no idea how happy I am to say that sentence. From the get-go, this game is terrifying. I haven't felt this scared while playing an RE game since maybe the baby section in RE8. However, the big difference here is that small section is how the entirety of Grace's gameplay feels. I have constantly found myself scavenging for ammo and health items, just barely scraping by in some encounters, and in others, I have to run away, and that's exactly what I want. It's also super apparent that this game has a lot of RE7 DNA in it, since the game's director, Koshi Nakanishi, also directed RE7. As for the RE1 Remake elements I mentioned, these are some of my favourite parts of this game. Now, I chose to play RE9 on classic difficulty, meaning that Grace will need to find ink ribbons in order to save. In addition to that, she can actually craft them as well, which I think is pretty neat. The gameplay loop around limited saves in RE games is amazing. Constantly weighing up in your head if you've made enough progress to justify a save, or risking it and entering a new area, is what I love about older Resident Evil games. And I'm just so happy it's here by default in RE9, as it's just so quintessentially Resident Evil. Now, while I've only encountered them once, this game honours a BOW only seen in RE1 Remake. Now, just like the Crimson Heads in RE1 Remake, RE9 also has a further mutation of its standard zombies. After some time has passed, dead zombies, not properly killed, will reanimate, and they come back as these disgusting creatures known as blister heads. In order to prevent these things from appearing, you need to craft a hemolytic injector to fully destroy the zombie. Failure to do so may come back to bite you in the ass later on. And trust me, you're going to be doing a lot of backtracking in this game. In terms of level design, something that's very important in a Resident Evil game, the care center feels like a mashup of the Baker House from RE7 and the Spencer Mansion from RE1 Remake. It feels like this big puzzle box that I just want to explore and open up. The care center is kind of split down the middle between an east wing and a west wing, which then sandwich the main lobby and save room. Both sides have their own unique stalker enemy. The west wing has the butcher zombie and the east wing has Chunk. In addition to that, each side has their own upgrade system that will have you regularly visiting these areas. The west wing has the parlor, which will allow players to gamble and, more importantly, purchase upgrades with antique coins. Another nod back to RE7. Here, you can purchase stabilizers to increase Grace's weapon handling or health, or even inventory upgrades. The east wing has the blood lab, which houses a laser microscope, another upgrade tool that will allow Grace to learn new crafting recipes. So each side has its reasons for you to stay far away, but also reasons to have you coming back. So then mix that together with the blister heads I mentioned earlier, and you have yourself a nerve-wracking building to explore. While you work through each side of the building, you're progressing towards the main doors, which require multiple items to unlock, which is a very RE1 Remake / RE7 design choice. When she's equipped, Grace isn't the pushover. She can use defense items like makeshift knives to defend herself, along with her pistols. And if you can manage to stagger a zombie with bullets, she can then kick them over, allowing you to get some free shots off. Grace's gameplay, at least in first person, feels very alike Ethan's gameplay in RE7, but with some light RE2 remake elements. Another trait that director Nakanishi has brought into RE9 from RE7 is the gruesome levels of gore. Seriously, there were some pretty fucked up and shocking details in this game's kills, and I was pleased to see it. Resident Evil Requiem isn't always full on tension and horror. There can be some nice brief moments of respite found throughout this game, either walking down desolate empty hallways or even within the game's save rooms. The save rooms here feature a beautiful save theme to comfort players after seeing horrors beyond their own comprehension. Now, I have purposely avoided the game's main story plot because not too much has happened that I can make heads or tails of, but I also don't want to spoil anything for you. I really feel like this game is a great step for the franchise. This game's DNA is at its core comprises some of Resident Evil's best moments, but with a hell of a lot new added. Both the new Resident Evil fans and veterans alike will like this game, and in my opinion, Capcom has so far nailed the balance between horror and action, as this game has some genuinely terrifying sections alongside some awesome as fuck action pieces. And I only hope that this will continue for the rest of the game. And with that, this will conclude my first thoughts and impressions of Resident Evil 9. I tried not to go too in depth, as I still want you to be able to experience a lot of this game for yourself. But if you were maybe unsure about getting RE9, or you were curious about my own thoughts, here you go. I plan to have a full review of the game up within the next week or two, which may seem like a while away, but think back to my Silent Hill F review. Yeah, this video is going to be a huge one. So please, if you would like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see that video. And let me know down below, what do you think of RE9? Did you pick up the game on launch? And if so, what do you think of it? And if not, why? I gotta run off now, as I'm dying to play more RE9. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and please look forward to my review of RE9. And I will hopefully see you there. Peace.